A second setback for Samsung in Australia. The release of its tablet computer has been further delayed until the end of September after a legal challenge by Apple. Apple claims that Samsung's Galaxy tablet slavishly copied the iPad and iPhone. Samsung has also been sued by Apple in the US, Germany and South Korea. I want to get some insight now to the tablet wars. We're joined by Sanford Dickert, Chief Technology Officer at Peer Index. Thank you so much for coming in. So how much of a setback is this for Samsung?
It's not particularly a setback because the challenge that Samsung's facing is not just the distribution, but also the fact that they are a component supplier to Apple, and they are one of the best providers of displays. So right now, Apple's suffering from a difficulty with LG and the fact that they're unable to deliver on the iPad 2 displays. So Apple has now had to go back to Samsung to ask them to backfill the iPad 2 orders.
So how does that work exactly? I'm just wondering, how does that affect the whole dynamic when we speak about tablet wars, given that Apple and Samsung are both competitors and partners?
The intriguing part about it is that Apple is focused on primary products. They tend to have a very limited expanse. They do the iPad, the iPhone, the iPod, and they only offer specific features, whereas Samsung seems to be providing a number of different solutions, and they're looking at the 10.1, the 8.9, the 7.7.
The Galaxy tablet, right?
All of the Galaxy tablets, as well as an insane line of phones, starting from the, it's not the Optimus, it's a couple of other phones, I can't remember all of them, but there's a recent mid-range and early range that is coming out, the Galaxy Y, the Galaxy M. These different phones are trying to go into a broader market, whereas Apple focuses on a single phone. That focus, Apple's fine. The way that Samsung goes about it, they try to do broad and serving needs of different customers.
Does that put Samsung at an advantage in the medium to long-term future, particularly in emerging markets?
In a diversification model, yes. The best aspect for them, they don't have to go for the high end, where Apple is always going for the high end, high cost. Samsung's looking at entry range and also expanding their tablet offerings. There's some rumors going on that September 1 at IFA in Berlin, they're going to be coming out with a tab phone. The idea is that it's about a 5.5-inch phone, but it could be a tablet. You'll see how it is September 1st.
But that's the direction that this is going in, isn't it? The idea that these devices are going to get smaller and smaller, and particularly this idea that you will be able to do a number of different things on one device. So does it look like Samsung could potentially steal a march on that one?
Yes. The idea, and everybody's going for this with the Android platform, since Apple controls everything, the hardware, the software, the distribution, everything, they are lockstep into particular markets. They offer a 10.1-inch system, the iPad. They offer the iPhone. But in between, there are other needs. So when you take a look at the Samsung line, Samsung is going from 4-inch all the way to 10.5. The idea of, what do I need a particular problem? With the new tab phone that's rumored, the Galaxy Q, I believe it is, these phones could actually change the way people interact with tablet computers.
So Samsung is much more focused, it has much more range, but nevertheless, these guys, the likes of Samsung, LG, they haven't been able to catch up with Apple in the tablet wars. They're so far behind. So what are the prospects for that?
The real challenge, I think, is that Apple has always been great at focus. Apple will spend all of their energy in the tablet space on their iPad 2 and the iPad 3 and whatever comes next. Whereas Samsung, my assumption is that they have a number of different divisions focusing on the different products. So imagine how much energy it's expended for the 5 different types of phones that they've released, the 6 different types of tablets they've released, and how much energy goes into it. They benefit from manufacturing since they're there at the point of the sword, the tip of the sword, where manufacturing is. But Apple's able to design, develop, and focus on the products that they're doing.
And what about LG? Because they're ramping up as well now.
Yeah. So because of the tension between Samsung and Apple, Apple doesn't want to be solely reliant on Samsung. They tried working with LG. Recently, there's been issues about their manufacturing. They haven't been able to deliver the orders based primarily on some manufacturing concerns. So now what is Apple doing? For the iPad 3, they've enlisted LG, Samsung, and Sharp. Sharp, they're actually in consideration of investing $1 billion into creating another supplier. The challenge that Apple has is right now, all of their components, their memory, their processor, the display, are handled by Samsung. So they have to diversify out of it. That's one of the challenges Apple has.
Yeah, so they're diversifying out of that in order to maintain their lead in the tablet wars. Thank you so much for coming in to talk to us about that. Appreciate your time. Sanford Dickert, Chief Technology Officer at Peer Index. Appreciate your time.
My pleasure.